What is up, gang? It's your boy Collins back again with another video. Today I'm about to show you guys how to create this effect. All right. Alright, so look, this effect is the most easiest effect that anybody can do. You can do it, I can do it. Even a 2-year-old can do this. It's very easy. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to show you guys step by step on how to do this. Alright guys, so in order to actually complete this effect, you're gonna need like 2 different shots, right? So first you're gonna need a clean shot of the background. So if you look at this specific spot, this specific side, I'm not in the shot, so it's kind of easier for me to kind of like, you know, crop this specific area out. So what I'll do is I will literally go over here to this part, the part where I'm actually not in the shot, and then click on the layer, the video layer, and press Control or I'm using Mac, so I'm gonna press Command Shift D to basically split the layer, right? And so what I do is I'm basically about to delete this other side, and then just grab this thing, grab this layer, and scroll to the right a little bit, and then hit Command Shift D again to basically just cut the specific area out. So this specific layer that's been cut out is just a clean background, or in other words, a clean template. So I'm gonna go ahead and rename this and call this background. And by the way, guys, if you want to learn how to rename, all you have to do is come over here, click the layer, right click, go to what's it called, rename, and then you can just type BG for background. And so what I like to do is, since it's basically a short effect, I'm gonna go ahead and drag the background to this specific area, and then just drag this specific part, right, and just move it to the part where I'm just like right here, like right when where I'm about to begin doing the effect, and then hit Control Shift D again, delete this specific side, and repeat the same exact process by dragging this, right? So after I have done that, right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to the point where I'm getting ready to just jump into the vehicle. And so just like right there, just like right there, right there, I'm gonna go ahead and freeze this specific frame and press Control D. And then what's gonna happen is I am going to zoom into the very end where I actually opened the door, and I'm actually in the vehicle. So when I get inside the vehicle, I kind of like, I pretend like I kind of act as if I just jumped in. So the way I'm moving my body kind of like adds to the effect, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit Command Shift D, and then this specific area where I'm getting ready to open, I'm gonna delete this specific area. So then we're gonna have like about a few frames of me teleporting into the vehicle. So for example, like right after I jump in, then it cuts to an empty background, then you notice that I'm inside the vehicle. So that's basically what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do now. We are gonna take, we're gonna go ahead and freeze this last frame right here, right? Press Control Shift D, and then what you're gonna do is right click on this specific layer, go to time, click on freeze frame. And by the way, guys, if my accent is a little bit too hard and you can't understand what I'm saying, I am so sorry. Just comment down any questions that you have in regards to this video, and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, I'm very sorry, guys. I'm trying. Look, I don't do these type of tutorials as much as I want to. So that's the reason why I'm kind of like, every time I do it, it seems like I'm struggling. Okay, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna do my best to do better. So anyways, after you hit what's it called, freeze frame on this specific layer, so now we have a frozen frame. So what we're gonna do with this frozen frame is we're gonna zoom in, and we are going to draw a mask around our character. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom in, and let's draw a mask around my guy. All right, so again, guys, I'm sorry about the blur, but I have to place it there because I'm not trying to get in trouble at work, you know what I'm saying? Because some companies, they don't want their information out there. So that's pretty much how it is. So yeah, let me go ahead and do this and completely mask myself out. So what's gonna happen is basically just right at the point where I'm actually getting ready to you know, jump, I have a frozen frame. All right, so after you draw your mask around your subject, it's gonna look like this. See, it doesn't look too good, right? So here's what we're gonna do next, right? So we're gonna go ahead and click on this specific layer with the mask. We're gonna rename that layer, right? And I'm gonna call this man, all right? So we're gonna click on the man layer. You can even change the color too if you wanna change the color. So I always like to change the color so I know exactly which specific layer this is. So I'm gonna change the color to red. And then once you do that, you wanna come up here to this specific tool. This is your anchor point tool. So you wanna click on the anchor point tool. You wanna click on the layer again to make sure it's selected. And then you see this specific anchor point, this little circle thingy. Just drag the circle thingy to like basically the area where you want your character to basically teleport, or in other words, zoom in into. That's going to be the center point where our subject is going to be able to like zoom in into, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag this anchor point directly to the window. And then what's going to happen next is I'm going to go ahead and go to the beginning of the frame where the subject is getting ready to teleport, and I'm going to hit S on the keyboard to bring up scale. Then I'm going to hit the keyframe on scale, and what's going to happen is I'm going to move 1, 2, 3 frames or 4 frames, but I like to do 3 to make it faster, and then just scale it all the way down. So we're going to scale it all the way down to like maybe say 19, and then that's pretty much it. So it's gonna look like this. So you see, it doesn't look too clean, right? So we can clean this up a little bit. It looks kind of fake. It looks kind of like, you know? So what we're gonna do, right, is I'm gonna move the anchor point, right? I'm gonna move the anchor point to maybe like right here, so that, there we go. So I'm gonna move the anchor point right there. So just about the part where the last frame ends, I'm gonna go ahead and click on this specific, yikes, what did I do? Sorry guys. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this specific layer, drag it closer, so that now it looks like this. It looks a little better, you know what I'm saying? It looks a little bit better. So what I'm gonna do now is this. You're gonna click on this specific layer. You're gonna click on motion blur. So this specific area, this specific box right here, the second box going towards the right, is basically enabling motion blur. All right guys, right after you've added your motion blur, you wanna hit F on the keyboard to bring up the mask properties. Right under the mask properties, you wanna see where it says mask feather. What you wanna do is just click on this and hit 3, so that it kind of makes the edges of the mask layer a little bit, you know, much more softer. All right, so right after you do that, all right, so now you have this cool looking effect, right? It looks more organic. But here's the problem though, you know, if you come over here and you see my hands, like I'm looking like I'm getting ready to jump, but it looks too slow. It doesn't look too real. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and click on this specific area, press Command Shift D, or if you're using a Windows, hit Control Shift D on your keyboard. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna speed this up a little bit. So we're gonna go to time stretch. I'm gonna speed this up to maybe like 45, right? Or maybe 40, right? So that area could be sped up a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Control. I'm gonna hit Command on the keyboard or Control, and hit on all these layers and drag, yikes. And why is it doing that? It's doing me dirty. Okay. And drag on all of them to bring this specific thing right here. So let's go ahead and do this one more time. So it should look like this. So it looks a little bit much more fast. I'm gonna leave it like that because the purpose of this effect is to show you guys how to actually do this. See, if you have already done this part, it looks already real. But if you look at my other video, right, it looked like I added some smoke elements and some camera shake to kind of like give it that kind of look. So see, the whole objective is to make this look as real as possible. So what we're gonna add next is some sound effects. All right, so this is my own personal sound effect that I got it from somewhere. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just drag it into this specific layer, hit L on the keyboard, hit L 2 times to kind of bring up different sounds. And then, you know, I have different sound effects that can go with it. I'm just gonna choose the one that I like, and I'm gonna see. This one doesn't sound too bad, but let's see this one. Let's see. No, That sounds like some kind of, you know, I'm just gonna use this one. This is much more better. Let's bring this a little bit to the side to make sure that it works. There we go. And I'm just gonna use this specific sound effect. Press Ctrl-Shift-D on this end. Come over here to this side, Ctrl-Shift-D, repeat the same process, and hit L 2 times to bring up the properties, and I think that should do it. By the way, I'm gonna go ahead and hit Ctrl-S on the keyboard to save. You always wanna make sure you save your project. It's really gonna help you out. But yeah, so let's go ahead and continue. So after I've done that, right? It looks a little bit much more better. You can even stop doing your effects right here and you can just call it a day, you know what I'm saying? And this could be it, you know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't look too bad, you know? But you know what we're gonna do next? I'm gonna add some, what's it called? I'm gonna add some visual effects, right? So I kind of got this, I bought this, this specific product from Action VFX, and it's basically called Cold Breath, right? You can actually find this. By the way, I'm gonna leave a link to Action to their page so that you guys can go ahead and check out some of the effects. You can even go on their website and buy this specific effect. You know what I'm saying? They have a free trial, and they have free assets that you guys can pick up, and hopefully you can find one of these things in there. So I'm gonna bring this specific Cold Breath right into the scene, and as you guys can see, you can see this specific effect. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit on the right. I'm gonna right click on it, on the layer, go to time stretch, hit, and then just type in maybe like 20, right? Because I'm trying to speed this up, because remember, I'm teleporting, so it needs to match the dust. So it needs to look organic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the dust over here to this specific side, maybe scale it up a little bit so that, you know, oh, see, it's already looking good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this specific layer. To duplicate, you hit Command or Control-D on your keyboard to duplicate it, so that now it looks, the dust looks a little bit more visible. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate this specific layer. So you're gonna hit R on your keyboard to bring up rotate, click on the layer, hit R. Oh, why is it not working? It's weird. R, that is so weird. It's not working for me, guys. I'm so sorry. But I'm gonna go ahead and just rotate this specific layer, and just gonna rotate it a little bit. So it's supposed to look something like this. And then what I like to do is I like to duplicate it one more time. So Control-D to duplicate one more time. Now this time around, I'm gonna slow down this specific Cold Breath. You're gonna hit right click on it again, go to time stretch, type in maybe 50, right? So now we have this slower version of the Cold Breath, right? So hit R again on your keyboard, maybe rotate this, maybe something like this, right? And since you have already rotated it, right, what you can even do is you can go ahead and turn off your man layer, right, so that you only have this specific dust, right? So click on the top dust, the one that you just slowed down, right? Matter of fact, let me rename this to slowed down dust, right? And then what you're gonna do is you want to come over here to your mask area, because here's the whole idea. I'm teleporting outside, there's dust on the outside, right? But there also has to be dust inside of the car. So in order to make it look like there was dust inside of the car, what you want to do is you want to click on the top layer to slow down dust, zoom in, and maybe draw a nice rough mask around the window. But make sure that this specific layer is selected. And then what you want to do is do that. Maybe hit F on the keyboard to bring up the feather, click on it, press 3, and just to make it look a little bit much more decent and organic. So now when you come over here, you want to bring the dust a little bit backwards, so you can see a little bit of the dust inside the vehicle, right, as you teleport. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Let's see. There we go. So I'm gonna 3. Okay, let's take a look at it real quick. It's supposed to look something like this. I think that's a little bit much more better. So you see what I'm saying, guys? Okay, that looks a little bit much more better. And I think just for the dust and for the sake of the dust, I think I should leave it just like this. I'm gonna leave it like this so that you guys can play around with it. Now, the last thing that I always like to add is just some distortion. You know, at the end of the day, I always tend to include a lot of distortion in my visual effects just to give it a little bit of realism to it, right? So to add distortion, we're gonna hit Control, Command, and we're gonna hit A. Actually, Control, Command, Y. Oh, I think that's the wrong one. Command, Option, Y. That's the word. And hit Control D, and we're just gonna you know, make it small. And to bring it to this specific area, we're gonna just draw a rough mask around this specific area, right? So this is gonna be my turbulence or my distortion. Then after I've completed the rough mask, I'm gonna hit F on the keyboard, maybe drag it all the way down to maybe like 49, you know? And once I have done that, what happens next is I'm gonna go to Effects and Presets. I'm gonna type in Displacement, right? So we're gonna type in Turbulent Displace. Drag and drop this into this specific area. Matter of fact, you can rename this and call this Distortion. And so basically, we're just gonna add a little bit of some distortion. So I would always crank down the amount to maybe like 21. And so what's gonna happen with the evolution is we're gonna play with the evolution a little bit. So we're gonna go to the start of the keyframe, right? Maybe move this a little bit and hit keyframe on evolution. Go to the end and maybe just, you know, move this a little bit so that it looks like it's been moving. So you see what I'm saying? It's supposed to give you that look. So when you preview it, right, or you replay it, it should look like this. It should look like this. So now that looks a little bit much more better. So now that we have completed this specific effect, all we gotta do now is this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and hit B on my keyboard to bring down this specific area, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit right click on my keyboard on this specific area, hit Trim Comp to Work Area. And once I've done that, what's gonna happen next is I am going to select all the layers, right click, pre-compose, and I'm just gonna call this tutorial. So I'm gonna make all the effects one. And now what I'm getting ready to add is some camera shake, right? So I'm gonna add some camera shake to make this effect more realistic. So the way I add my camera shake is very simple, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag the timer to this specific area and hit Control-Shift-D or Command-Shift-D on my keyboard. And then just right about right here, I'm gonna do the same exact thing and hit Command-Shift-D. So this specific area is where the camera shake is gonna happen. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come right here to the effects and presets. And then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna type in Motion, Tile. And then hit Mirror Edges. Change the height to maybe 150. The width to 150. And then I'm gonna come over here to Wiggle. I'm gonna type in Wiggle. And once you've done that, you wanna drag and drop position into this specific area. And once you see that, you can change the wiggle amount to maybe say 180 or 100, depending on whichever works for you. Maybe change this to maybe 6. And then add a little bit of some motion blur. So it should look like this. So, I mean, it looks good, but it seems like the wiggle is too hard. So you can always reduce it to basically fit what you like, you know, just change it. That doesn't look right. I'm gonna change this to maybe, let's try 10. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna just leave it like that. But yeah, guys, so this is how you do it. Hopefully, I'm hoping that you learn a lot from this specific effect. And I'm sorry guys if I'm kind of a little bit of slurred speech a little bit, because again, I don't do this often, so I need to do this more often so I can get more comfortable with teaching and doing edits at the same exact time. So I do really want to appreciate you guys for taking the time to watch this specific tutorial. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you learned something from it. You can share this with your friends, you know what I'm saying, and just learn from it. I have more tutorials coming in the future, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do more advanced level visual effects. All right, thank you so much for checking this out. Thank you so much, guys.